Now, again, with this webinar series, it's a Q&A session for the most part here. So if any questions you have the chat, you do have the Q&A as well. I feel, can you guys hear me okay? I'm not sure if my speakers, our headset's working okay. But you do have the chat, the Q&A, as well as if you feel like your question is better asked, by all means, you do have that ability to raise your hands. I will give you the ability to speak. Thanks to Sam for clarifying. I can see the little thing on my microphone indicating that my voice is being heard, so thank you. But yes, do ask questions. Again, there is no question too big or small. And again, majority of the questions that you guys do ask benefit everyone. So if there's something that you're stuck on or just want to have a little bit more knowledge on, definitely others here are going to benefit from it. There's no single person that knows the system inside and out to its maximum capabilities. So while I wait for questions, I do like to start just a couple things off, just to try to get things going, but please do pop in those questions as we carry through. So some of you guys have been on here in the past. I can see a couple of names that maybe you haven't, or maybe pop in when you can. I know, work and life is busy. So again, one of the biggest things when you guys are doing your lead conversions is your call logging. So that's one of the biggest things, and making sure that you guys are in your system daily to do those calls. You all should have saved filters. Some of you do have filters that look like this. Some of you look our previous filters, which are just as great. They're just slightly different. But how I like to put with these filters here is I call them all buckets. So once you kind of get familiar, you understand your filters, is we just want to empty our buckets daily. And the system is dynamic in understanding which leads you need to be calling based on your logging of your calls, and perhaps using features like tags or changing pipeline statuses and so on. So ultimately, if your tags or your pipelines rather look like this, or if they have like the number one new lead, that sort of same idea, and you're always going left to right. So your number 1, 2, 3, because it will slowly fill out, right? Your number one should always be empty. This is essentially people that you've never tried calling. So we always want this list empty. And again, the moment that you action a call on any of these leads, they fall off the list because they'll no longer match the qualifier of 0 calls logged. So when we look at this person here, we can see that in the lead stat, there is 0 calls. So even by me just logging a call, let's just say no message left and save it, you're going to notice that we go from 103 down to 102 leads simply because I logged that call. Okay. Now your second filter, and again, we want to empty that out. If you guys have a significant amount of leads in your number one, I break it down to 15 to 20 calls a day until you get it down to 0. But again, it's checking daily to empty it out. Your second priority is for all those individuals that you haven't actually really had a detailed conversation or spoke to. In some cases, you may have made contact with them, as you see here. It could be a text that they replied to, or perhaps you made contact with them, but it wasn't really a full conversation. Like they had to go, you didn't really gain a lot of information about that lead to potentially properly rate them. So you can see your hot, cold leads, or hot, warm, cold leads. And that's all reflective of the pipelines here. So if I was to take this pipeline now and even just move it to, let's say, hot and ready, you'll see that that lead just fell off of this list, right? So they're now actually in the hot and ready, right? So we're trying to get these people, the ones that we're trying to get a hold of, to learn more about their story or communicate with them again so we can better categorize them as to their ratings. So we have a certain level of follow-up that we go by. And the follow-up is key for you guys gaining the conversions in here. Now, your number 3, when you get there, generally speaking, and actually, let me go back to number 2. So number 2, again, is those people that we are still trying to get a hold of, but we are trying to call them daily. right? So we're calling them daily. And as soon as, again, you log a call on any of these leads or you change that pipeline status because you did actually talk to them previously or connect them through text, but now we have a lead rating for them, they fall off this list until we do that. So we want to be continuously calling these people, and it's the consistency with your call attempts that's going to get them to answer. So if we're just calling randomly or based on people's activity and things like that, our numbers aren't sticking in their minds, right? So if we're continuously calling from the same number, they start to recognize that phone number, and most of them will answer, typically by the 6 to 8 call attempt. Now, your number 3, you should very rarely have individuals in here, but what this will be, and again, why you go 1, 2, 3 is some of your number 3 are in your number 1 and 2, but this is going to be more or less people that are in your non-responsives, meaning you've tried calling them multiple times and still haven't gotten them on the phone. So these ones here, essentially, once you're only going to call them once a week at this point, provided that they're active in the last 30 days. It's not that they're not important anymore. You've just already exhausted about 2 weeks of trying to get them on the phone continuously with no success. So they just drop down a bit in that priority list there. And then you go into your hot, warm, cold. And again, there is others. We can stack these. So when I'm guiding and coaching anyone on these filters, we can always expand on them, okay? So, but it's learning and getting comfortable with the foundations of the filters in the first place, because you want to make sure you have that before you start throwing more capabilities at you, which can be very confusing if you don't already have a general grasp on it. So your hot leads here, these are individuals that are hot. You've either marked them as hot ready, you've met them, you've signed an agreement, you've shown them property. These people, you can see here, there's no indication as to a level of follow-up with these individuals, because they should all be top of mind. All right, so we should be able to look at whoever these individuals are, when we last tried to call them, when we should be calling them again, and so on. You do have that ability to add one of those fail-proof filters where, if you wanted to do it, was last contacted. So for example, if you wanted to do it, so I want to make sure I'm checking anyone in here that falls within the last 3 days, that I haven't tried by phone, for example, in the last 3 days, we can see that none of these leads, so we want to do lead was not contacted by phone, and all the leads in the last 3 days. So, which is, I believe, all of them have not been contacted. So if you want this system to be dynamic, so if we call Jason, hey, Jason, he would fall off this list and automatically show up again in 3 days for us to try that again, or have a, reach out to him today. So it really depends on how you're using the system, if you wanted to add that as well. When you have your warm leads, the warm leads is such a vast audience. It can mean a magnitude of different things, because you can have a warm lead that plans on transacting within the year, within 5 months, 6 months, 8 months. You could also have somebody that you think is a warm lead that's planning a move in a year and a half, but you really had a fantastic conversation. You really don't want them to fall off your radar. So that's your warm lead. These ones here, yours is going to be set to 7 days. Right. So again, it really comes down to how you are classifying your warm leads and the level of frequency you feel like you should be checking in on them. And the check-ins are just that. We're not trying to sell these individuals anything. We're just making sure everything's still good on their end. But again, if you have a warm lead that's a year out and you're calling them every week, they're going to get, I'm going to say, a pretty, I personally would feel a little annoyed with that. So that's where you may want to adjust this, but also we have the ability again to dig down deeper and create additional filters for those people that may be warm, but you don't need to call them every 7 days or every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, that sort of thing. Then you have your cold leads. These are the ones that are just cold, not ready. Right? We know they have no intentions of moving anytime soon. They are maybe just browsing because they're curious. Maybe they have no money, all different cases. It doesn't mean they're lost opportunities. They're just not going to be transacting anytime in the near future. So we have this one set that you'd be reaching out to them every 90 days. So, and again, it's dynamic. You guys call them. When you log the call, they fall off. They automatically reappear in those 90 days. I'm just going to check some questions that are in here. Okay, All right, so Gina has the follow system because you have the other check-in, so I will go over that as well. And then, so Gina is asking, when you log the call and they fall off, do you have to tag them with a different group? No. So not with these ones here, because again, it's dynamic, right? So if I didn't actually speak, so let's say I called Crystal open houses today, and I called her, I didn't actually speak to Crystal, I didn't change her rating, she's going to automatically fall off and show up again tomorrow, right? Because again, when I'm on there tomorrow, I didn't call her today, so to speak. So it's all dynamic. You just have to log your calls. The only time if you want them to fall off this list into another list, because yes, you did have a good conversation, is rating them. So changing that pipeline to rate the lead, whether they feel like they're warm, hot, or cold. With that, and then the check-in filters. So all of you in here you'll see these check-in filters, okay? So there's 1 week check-ins, 2 week check-ins, monthly check-ins, quarterlies, okay? So this is an alternate or an additional way that you can also filter and keep you on top of your leads. It's almost like a tasking system without having to task them. You just have to tag them and kind of go like that. So what that is, and I'll show you, I think I have one on here, so I'll pull up my 1 week check-ins here. So the 1 week check-ins is based on tags. So if you put a tag on somebody for a 1 week check-in and you haven't called them in the last 7 days or sent them a text in the 7 days, they're going to be in here. Okay, so we can see there's 3 people in here. So if I was to, again, log a call on this individual, or shoot them a text message, they'll fall off and automatically show up in 7 days from now. And the same is like your 2 week check-in, same idea, it's every 14 days. So every 14 days, but you're checking these filters daily because when you're calling them isn't always the same day, right? So you would have that, but that's where you could potentially, as you get, a deeper understanding, is your warm nurturing. So you can take them off the warm nurturing, keep them as that pipeline status, but we can remove them from that filter if you want to rely slowly on check-in tags. So really what it is when we talk to these individuals, and yes, we may rate them, we're now saying, okay, based on the conversation with this individual, how regular should I be checking up with this individual? Should I be checking in on them every week, every 2 weeks, there's a monthly one, every month, every quarter, or every 6 months? Because again, it's all going to vary, right? You could make a call today where you actually don't have to call that person again for 90 days or 6 months, based on where they're at in the process. So you're alleviating yourself from unnecessary calls when we're not using some sort of strategy to a follow-up system. Now you can also piggyback tags as well. So if you start doing this, you can piggyback. So let's say in an instance, so see if there's anyone in even my quarterly check-ins. Let's see if there's anyone in here. Okay. So this one here, you can see has 2. Okay. So the reason why you may want to do 2 is you have, let's say, Crystal, I have to follow up with her in 90 days. So she's got the quarterly check-in. But let's say I called her in 90 days and she didn't answer. I did leave a nice voice message, maybe shot her a text message just letting her know, but I really actually want to jump on the call again with Crystal. I don't want to let another, quarter go by that I'm not talking to her. That's when you can double up and put the weekly check-in tag on them. That way they'll continue until you get them on the phone. They're going to pop into your weekly check-in. And then once you do actually have that conversation, we can then take that weekly check-in off so they fall back into schedule with their quarterly. Or perhaps this person's now that much closer to a move, and maybe we're going to change it to monthly check-ins at that point. Or maybe they've advanced even further and you can do a 2-week check-in on them. So it's really once you start using or getting off the call, it's just being like, what tag should I be adding or changing on any lead that I'm speaking to? And once you have that flow, it just becomes all strategy. But again, you can take, this is going to might confuse some of you. So let's say we have your warm leads, but we have certain ones that we have because, specific check-in periods, which does not going to fall into the standard 7 days or 14, whatever you set. that's where you could eliminate them. So we can say, you know, if everyone does not, in order to be on this list, they can't have any of the check-in tags. So if we go, just to kind of show you if any of these people do happen to have, so they can't have a check-in tag. So they can be warm nurturing, but they can't have a check-in tag because they're already in a different filter. So if we apply and preview that, there's one person. So this person, the other person had check-in tags on them. This one doesn't, so they would follow into your whatever system, standard system that you have here. So that's something. And then if you do want to save anything like that, you would just click update. There. So it'd be tag, doesn't have, and then the weekly. But I would definitely, if you're going to use those weekly check-ins, is make sure that you are pinning them to your dashboard so that they're always top of mind. But again, when we have our filters, we want to clear out our filters daily, empty all those buckets. And if you do that, in the beginning, you guys may be having to make up a lot of phone calls, your catch up, so you're call heavy. Or if you're brand new, you're not going to be call heavy. But if you have the strategy going forward, you're going to realize that because it's such a systematic approach to what you're doing, the amount of work that you're having to do on a daily basis is actually quite minimal, and it will always stay minimal because, again, there might be somebody you speak to today that you don't call again for 6 months. Now, I know. So Georgina is asking me tag and use the pipeline. So absolutely, if that's the strategy that you want to use. So definitely you should change that pipeline just so that you kind of know, and it's always based off that conversation, right? But if you want to do the check-in tags as well, by all means. Some people aren't ready for that, to do all of those filters. They want to just start let's just start with the basics and kind of ease their way through to it. And some, you know, want to go full throttle because they already have a good understanding of how that works. So, but definitely I would start utilizing those pipelines as well, because you can filter out your leads based on those various pipeline statuses as you see. You know, and also, again, they could be in a weekly check-in, but you might have their pipeline status as cold, and you're going to, you know, which is fine. It's just you have a little bit more background story. You're like, hey, I'm following up this person every week right now, but they've got a cold pipeline. You know, why are they in this filter category? And I know someone has. So Brian has his hand up. So I'll ask the question. Okay. So Brian is asking, is there a way to share notes from our call notes in our notes, or do we have to copy, paste, and rewrite? Well, they should all be there in your system. So unless you're calling from a phone and putting notes somewhere else, which I don't think that's what you're asking me. So whether you're using the dialer or not, if we go in here, let's pretend we're calling this individual. And we'll allow that. And so we're going to call. I'm not going to let it connect, and it's going to hang up. We have our notes section here, right? So this is the notes. So the call notes, when we save those calls, it is going into the notes section. When we decide, it's just refresh check in there. And you'll see these are the call notes that I just left. So they're always in there. If you're logging calls manually, of course, you do have the note section here as well. You can also just leave notes, but you shouldn't have to do it twice if you're already logging it in the system as a call. They should be showing up with that call. The other area where you may want to copy is into the lead description. So if let's say this was important, this is stuff I'm going to refer to each time I'm speaking to this person, I'll put in this little section right here because it's always top, right under their contact information. But you do also have that ability to pin your notes as well. So if you have important notes that you're going to want to say at the top regardless, pins them at the top, and then all their call notes will kind of follow down below. So I hope that answered your question there, Brian, with respect to that. Call notes, but it should all be in there, and detailed notes for yourself, you guys, because again, as you see with these follow-up filters, there could be, or even like the hot, cold, warm, it could be instances where it's 90 days, 180 days before we're speaking to this person again. You're not going to remember the conversation as much as we think we're going to remember. We just don't have that type of memory, and we talk to a lot of people, right? So notes, when I tell people to leave notes, I say leave them as if you're leaving them as if your colleague's doing the follow-up. All the details in there. There's nothing too small that you can add, things about their family, if they mention a hobby, anything, right? We're trying to be relatable with these people and build relationships. So it just allows you to pick up that conversation where you last left off. And that's also when I kind of refer to other bigger corporations out there. Like say you're calling your cell phone company, it doesn't matter who you're talking to. The person you're talking to right now has full context of every conversation that you've had in the past. They have a full story that's written because they're leaving detailed information for the next person. So Brian, I see that you have your hand up. I will allow you to talk if you feel like your question is easier to ask.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just thinking like I know, again, I'm new, right? But I noticed like a lot of notes in the call section are there, but is there a way to put them all together? That's what I thought the notes was because I noticed they don't pop up in there, right? But I understand what that is now. That's like if you call separately, right? But is there a way to like have all your notes together in one section? So then when you call the lead, you're not browsing through all your calls and looking at notes that they're all boom right there, or would you copy and paste? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so either if they're important notes, I would put them, like pin them. If they're call notes, they're at the top. The other would be to put them here. So if there's information that you're going to be referring to every single time, that's it. Because you could have call notes in there that maybe aren't, you don't need all the details over here.
Yeah.
But the important things, right? So copying just important snippets of this is kind of who this person is. Or just pin those call notes so that they're all at the top as you're making a even those notes so in there, so they're easy. You're not searching through the list.
So if you put notes on that other section on the left there, under their description or whatever, is there a limit to the amount of words you can put in there?
I don't believe so. I don't. Okay. I've never hit it. I haven't tested that. I haven't tested that out. But yeah.
Okay. Just because I made calls and then it's like, no, we're gonna review everything again. I'd rather
you got to go on and search it.
I want
exactly. Exactly. So I would have different things there, pin the things that you're going to refer to. It's just pin them at the top, because even if I add a note after,
you edit in this section
below, it goes that. Sorry.
Oh no, so the notes there, like that you clicked on. So could I even there? Can I edit that? Like if say I put the notes in, I just want to keep it.
Yeah. You could definitely you could edit it and then save it after. And if you wanted to pin it, so if you wanted to just continuously add to that note, then you could definitely do that.
So not from the call, from the note when you do the note button. Can I edit from there?
Yeah. So like this,
so I can just keep
here.
Adding one section if I wanted to.
You can keep adding to this if you wanted to. Yeah. So you can pin it, and then every time you're logging your call on your call notes, but you could just pin it to that one and add it there if you wanted.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. That's what I wanted. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Perfect. No problem. And it's okay. Now, Hassan, I know you had a question about pins, how to get the pins out. So the pins are automatic, and that's through marking the number as invalid. Right. So the moment you mark their number as invalid and they're on the website, that's when they get the pin. So if they go to look at listings, they're going to try to give a phone number, and then they get a pin sent to their cell phone. We don't have those pins. Those pins are automatically generated through Twilio to send to that individual. Okay. So the easiest thing that you could do is just if they are invalid, you got to mark it as invalid. Now, as a user, if they should have got the pin, but on the website, it should ask them if they want to resend or look at that pin. So let me just we'll go to the emails here. So let's look at this one. A few more details. And let's hurry up here. I think my Twilio is actually broken on this site. I could be wrong, but it might actually on my training say here. Yes, I like getting one. Fresh. Yeah, I think my Twilio my Twilio is disconnected on the site. But what will happen is they're going to get that notification, right? So if you mark their number as invalid, they're getting the notification that, hey, you need to provide me with a valid number. And when they enter that number into the website, it'll send them the PIN. All right. So, and there is an option, like right below, to resend the PIN. So for whatever reason, they didn't get the PIN, they do have the option to click resend PIN to get that PIN. Again, you do need to have a valid Twilio in order for this to be working. And I can see you want to, oh, so creating PINs for warm leads, first priority. Okay, now I got you. I feel like that, now I understand what you're saying. I was thinking you were talking about pins from Twilio. So thanks for clarifying on that. So to pin your filters, up here in your applied save filters, you do have the pins here. Okay, so if you wanted to pin your filters, you can pin them on here. So I can pin all these if I wanted to on there. Once they are, you do have, so if you'll notice, you have to do the show more. If we want to unpin something, we just unpin it. So there's a test one. There is a test one somewhere pinned. So we'll take that one off. This is an example. Take that one off. I don't know what that one is, but we'll take that one off. So you can take them. You can also move them around. Okay, so you can change the sort order. So maybe some of you want your hot leads first. This is my first priority where I'm going to go today to check out my hot leads. All right, so you can move these all around in the order that you choose or the preference. If you want to add a new filter to here, so let's just pretend I'll just take off this one, and let's say I'm going to add a filter of, let's just do phone validity is valid or unknown. What you're going to do is down here is you're going to go save as new. Okay, so you can save this as a new filter. You do, some of you will see both company personal. Some of you may only see personal. If you see company personal, that's because you have admin rights or this is your account. If you only see personal, that means you're a sub-user. So a company, when you save a filter as a company, that means that any sub-user has access to utilize that filter and can pin it to their dashboard. If you save it as personal, it's personal to your account, meaning I have to log in as you to see that filter, or you would have to log in as your agent to see their personal filter. You wouldn't be able to see them in the back end. So then you just do company, you name your filter. You can also give yourself a description. So if you are even a team, for example, or you have sub-agents and you're creating filters, you want to give a little description as to what this filter is, you can. You can also pin it to the dashboard, or if you want to set it as a default. So the default filter is where whenever you log into your CRM, that filter is automatically applied, right? So for example, you had like one of the number ones where, those are all my new leads. When I log into my system, that's what I'm looking at when I first log in, or maybe have it my hot filter. So when I'm logging in, that's what I'm looking at as soon as I log in. So then you save it. When you do have your filter, so when you name that filter, so it is going to be in here. So you're going to see that the name filter has now been created. And when you do add the description, when you hit the eye, you hover over the eye, that's where you can see the description. You can see I wrote description. There's a little description that you have for that. So that is essentially how you're going to add and save more filters. And again, you can add on to this and save it as new, or if I do add on to it, just or change it. For example, if I select this, I can just update. So if I don't want to create a new one, I just want to update the other one, then I can update that one in there. And then what these are for is it's handy when you're trying to pull out different results of things. So let's say here's a third priority, for example. So let's say I didn't want this last activity to be part of this filter, just for me to check something. Okay, so then what I can do is just unselect it and go apply. Then it's going to show me. So it's now taking this one filter item out of the requirement. So now there's 223 people that haven't been contacted and like have all of these other requirements. This is just no longer a requirement. It doesn't save the filter. We're just temporarily overriding it. So even if I click on it again, you're going to and open it up, you'll see that it's still there. It's still intact. We're back down to just the one individual in there. So Brian is asking, how do you send the link for StreetMatch to a client? So the StreetMatch would be on your website, if you have a branded website, it should automatically be there, or is automatically on there, since they should be. The lead gen sites don't necessarily have them on there, so you would have to ask or request or add it yourself on there. But it would just basically be going into the URL of your website and finding that. So if we go, I'll just go, I know this site is open. So when you're on your website, it should be under your sellers. Clearly, really slow today. Oh, it's telling me that right now. So once you have the StreetMatch, you do have this. This is the link. It'll go, StreetMatch here. You can obviously just copy that and send it to them. If it's in an email, you can hyperlink it. Right. So if I was to pretend I wanted to send it to here, go to StreetMatch and then hyperlink the text. So we can just change this to be a hyperlink. So then I want them to go into hyperlink over to that. I always change this to a new window. That way, when I send it over, it's then sending them that way. So that's one way that you can do it. The other is the app itself. And again, you can send that through your branded website. You could add it to your lead gen site as well. If you want to add StreetMatch landing pages on your site or home earth on your lead gen site, you have that ability to do so through your editor. The other would be getting people to use the app. So the app itself, every lead here has their own unique app link, right? So they have this here. It is part of their initial campaign when they are coming, in as a new lead. They're getting notified. I think it's 5 times. When they first sign up, the autoresponder has a link to their app. Then they go on to a small little drip where they get 2 emails followed by 2 text messages, like right away, just kind of like follow-up text. Also encouraging them to download the app. The first step of somebody downloading that HomeLocator app is setting up their StreetMatch. So anyone that does sign up, you're also gaining their addresses. And yeah, you're now nurturing them through at least active listings in their neighborhood. If you guys do have a feed with us that we have access to sold listings and you have sold listings that are accessible to yourself, then you can also send them those sold listings. Yes, Brian. You can see that you have your hand raised.
Sorry, I was muted. I was talking to myself there. How do I?
Yeah, no worries.
How'd you get that HomeLocator app there? I missed that. You're moving too fast.
It's just right here. So it's right above here.
Like
it's right above their name.
If I go into the client's thing, it should be
profile.
there.
Yeah, it should be.
I know. Yeah.
Let me just see, unless you're on an old system of
lead activity. Oh, get app link. I see it there. Yeah, you're right. Okay, my bad.
There.
But the thing is that how it would have to be so I'd have to go into the, yeah. You hear me? You
could. Yep. No, you could go into theirs. There's also the ability. So in your system, let's see, under your email, let's see, I believe there could be ones in here that if they added them as templates or not. So I'm just going to search HomeLocator. Search. So these HomeLocator, these are all these are app links. They're duplicated in here. There might only be a couple in yours, but you can tell these are kind of duplicated. These are emails that are, that are already created that have the short code for the app link. All right, so there's a short code. So if you're wanting to send an email or a text message to multiple people with their own app link, there is a short code for that. So you don't have to go to each person individually and do it. But there is a couple emails in there. If you wanted to create an email template, so when we go in and we're going to do that. I could have stayed on that screen, I suppose. And there is tutorials in here. So if you guys navigate to the top right-hand corner, because I'm not going to go fully through how to create an email template, there is videos, right? So there's videos that are reflective of where we're currently sitting in here. But down below, we do have the Lead mobile app shortcode. Okay, so if you're creating the email, it's just drag and drop. So throwing that in there, and then in the email itself that goes out, this will convert to that specific lead's unique link in there. So that's something you can do. You can also do the same if you're, wanting to create an SMS template as well.
So sorry, once they download,
same idea.
once they download the app,
Yep,
then
go
they're
ahead.
automatically registered with.
So are you looking to send this to people that are in your system already? Or are you looking to send this to people that are outside of your system?
No, what I'm saying, like, say I'm talking to a lead at the time and I tell them about the Nosy Neighbor thing, whatever it's called. And I just want to send them a link.
Yeah.
Whether
it's in their system
or not.
Yeah.
But is that link specific to them, or that link doesn't matter who I send it to, they'll just get?
No, that's specific to them. Each of them have a unique key at the end of them.
Oh, so I have to go through their link I'd have to put them in the system and do it that way. I couldn't just
if there is another, you could. So that's what I was asking. Are you sending this to people that are in your system or outside of your system?
Well, somebody called me
if they're in your system, sorry?
No, I said, because I was on the phone with someone the other day that called me in my direct line, and I was telling them about it. I said, yeah, I can send you the link, but unless I'm in the system, I can't send them the link.
You can. It's the same idea. So if you guys go into your website, into your site manager, okay, you'd pick the site that you want to be sending them listings from. So in this case, I'm going to choose the lead gen site. And then down below, you have your website settings and you have a HomeLocator tab. Here, you'll see something. It says here, copy link. Yours will say get link if you haven't clicked on it yet. So this link that presents to you in your back end is a unique link now to your entire system. It's not attached to a singular user in your system. So it's generic. So you could send this to everyone. Let's say, if you have it in your day-to-day email signature, or if you're on the phone, or you put it on print, maybe you get a domain name that forwards right to this app link, whatever it is. If a lead is not in your system already and they download the app, they will become a lead in your system. And if they are already a lead in the system, and they do that, provided that they use the same email address, it'll just recognize that they already have an account, and it'll just tack it onto their current account.
Okay, so that is web settings, right? Is that right?
Yes. So you go into your website.
Yeah.
Right. Websites, site manager, and then you pick your website that you're wanting to send the listings from.
Yep.
And then it's in the website settings up in the HomeLocator.
Oh, okay, there we go. That's what I missed there. And then just get app link.
Yep. And then you would copy that link.
Copy link. And then,
okay. So again, that's, yeah.
Could I put this say on notes on my phone? So then if I am same thing, say I'm talking to somebody, I can just take, hey, I can send this to you now and just copy the link and send it at that point?
Yeah. You sure can.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just another way. So there's a lot of different creative things, again, that you could do with this. You can put in your email signature with hyperlinks. You can hyperlink images. You can purchase a domain name, my home locating app, whatever. And then people would go to it if they're on their phone, of course, it brings them to the app store. So a lot of different creative things that you could do to utilize it. Some you could even probably run a Facebook campaign driving traffic to that link or that page, right? So different things that you can try and be creative with generating leads through that app link. But yeah, if you are in your system, you do have, the ability to create email templates with the app link in it. You can do SMS templates, same idea. You would still have the lead app link in here as well. So if you wanted to create something where you're sending it out,
do they have to? Sorry again. Do they have to? Do they have to download the HomeLocator app in order to get the Nosy Neighbor link?
No, because that's where you could do it off your branded website, right? So on your branded website, you can just go to that page and grab that if you just want them to sign up. This is the same thing. The HomeLocator is also So the home locator, the first step is signing up for StreetMatch, but it also allows them to browse listings on the go, right? So if they're driving through neighborhoods, they can pull up the maps and look at listings and properties. It's all connected to their account in here. So regardless if they're on their phone, sitting on their couch looking at listings, or they're driving down the road, all of that activity is going to get tracked in their user.
Yeah, but I'm not seeing the, okay, so when I go to my do I have to go through the system to get to this? Because it's like when I go to my web page now and then I do StreetMatch, it's not showing me that link. Do I have to go through the system to get that?
I'm just going to pull up your, hopefully, is yours ready? Yeah, your website, and I'm wondering if it's because your my Ontario home, that one there probably doesn't have it.
Yeah, StreetMatch is in there. I added it in there.
So there's your StreetMatch.
And they just actually changed the button for me too.
So you have the StreetMatch, so then you would just grab it, probably be whatever that is, the URL, and you grab that. Oh, did they? Yeah. My internet's really, really sad today, apparently. So yeah, so it'll pull, and that would be your link that you would send to somebody. Right?
Yeah,
and then
why am I not seeing
that?
I'm in there right now, and I'm not seeing that on mine. I don't know why. Yeah.
Oh, really? You could have a cached version. That's why. It could be cached. Maybe looking if they recently updated it for you.
Yeah. It just says Dean Realty. I'm not seeing the seller, StreetMatch, all that stuff in there.
Well, okay, yeah, because it's just the home, community, sellers, buyers, StreetMatch, about, testimonials. Just on your main menu. If you scroll down, you also have a button here for it.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, like when I press on StreetMatch, like you did, you pressed on it and then it said /StreetMatch/ whatever it was. Mine is not saying it.
Yeah.
It's still at deanrealty.ca. So there's nothing to copy is basically what I'm saying, like to send a link.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
I know.
I don't know then. I don't know why.
That's why, because I tried that before,
That's
right?
Weird.
I'm just trying again. It's not showing me that. So
yeah, the only thing I can think is going.
Oh,
sometimes it happens to me, so I'll go. Now you see it? Okay.
I got it. How it came up there,
if it's cached somewhere, it's using different browsers sometimes to get it to pull.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so okay. Thanks so much.
No problem. So yeah, so that's just a couple of ways that you can do it. You guys do also, again, the new leads that are in here, they are put on the short campaign. So as part of their initial campaign, so those buyer leads, for example, so they get put onto a HomeLocator short. This one here again is only 4 actions. Where it has like an email followed right away by, a text message followed right away by an email, and then 5 days later, another text message followed right away by an email. This is already part of the initial people that are coming, all the buyer leads that are coming in, they are already getting these. They stop going out if the person downloads the app. So the person, what the system is recognizing when somebody does download the app, they are tagged that they've downloaded the app, and that tag is what stops this campaign. So you don't have to worry about sending the messages or the emails going out being like, download my app. They're like, well, I just did. Why are you still telling me about this? It'll stop sending those communications. So and you can use that one off. So for example, if let's say I added somebody in here and maybe I have different campaigns or what have you, but I want to get them on that campaign, it will be in here. So the HomeLocator short. And you're just choosing if you have the solds or you don't have the solds. The only difference is slight wording in one of the emails, because it'll say properties that are for sale and sold in your area. And then of course, if you don't have solds, it just doesn't say that you can see the solds. But that's the only difference. So you could always assign it to people as well, to new people. But again, as soon as they download the app, they get applied a tag. So when we go into the tags here, it's not in this one. So it's like this, but it doesn't have the asterisk, I don't believe. It's just the downloaded app one that they get. So you can find every person in your system. So if you go tag, has all select tags, and just select. If you have two of those downloaded, just select both of them just in case. Oh, it's right here. There we go. So you're going to see this one. So this is the app link or the tag that automatically gets assigned to any user when they download the app. Okay, so which also stops. You can always pull up everyone that you know has already downloaded the app as well on here. So that's something that can be useful. Now, kind of going into the context of people that we're talking to or adding in here, and I'm just going to bring this up, is kind of like right here. So we're looking at the registration in the store. Okay? When you guys are looking at your system, you're always going to see, the timestamp, so when they registered on your website, the source that they came in off of, right? So if it was just like the main site, if they came in as, through Homeworth or whatever, it's going to show here. It's also going to show their location or where their IP is pinging at the time of registration. So this is their general IP. So it's never going to show you their exact location. I am not in North Vancouver, but for whatever reason, I was pinging North Vancouver when I registered on here. Now, if you guys see Google, so these ones here, you don't see anything that says Google on here. If you guys see Google on there, that's a lead that came in through your Google campaign, okay? So you know that that was the referral source was Google. Now, if you're in your system and you're seeing some leads that are registering and you don't see the Google, that is an organic lead. So that's somebody that either came across your URL. It could have also been a lead in your system that shared a property with somebody else, and then they signed up to view that listing. So that's just a little bit of tidbit of information. But when we do add our leads in here, you can see here, this one just has the timestamp of when this lead was created. There's nothing indicating where this person came from. And I commonly see it. But from time to time, you may want to segregate some of these people based on how they came into your system. Like, was this a referral? Was this my sphere of influence? Was this from an open house? That sort of thing. So you can create sources under your settings. So under your settings, you have the ability to create sources. You can call them whatever you want because they may not be as standard, but you can add, so, there's different ones that we're kind of creating just to kind of show, but you can add sources, right? And then on your leads, when we have that lead open or we're creating the lead, it's just selecting that source from the drop down. Apparently my internet died on me here, or we're canceled out on us. So again, you can add your sources in here, so you can create sources and then you can add them to your leads, right? So when we have our leads in here, just kind of going over again and going down, we do have the source. When we're adding individuals in here, we can always, know they came from. And then again, on your dashboard, where you have anywhere you have a magnifying glass, you can add that as a filter item. By clicking it, it automatically creates it. So I just took it off. I can now add it back on. So if I want to apply and preview everyone that came from that specific source, I do have that ability to do so. So again, and you can stack your filters, right? So if you wanted to pull up all your open house people that were from this year or last year, whatever it might be, you have, the ability to do so. That's just one small example. But again, familiarizing yourself with filters. If you have some time and you have, some people, some leads in your database, is going through these filters because there's quite a few that you can obviously take advantage of, right? We can see anyone that downloaded the app, for example, their app usage, anything to do with their agent information, stuff like that, pulling up people based on birthdays. Like, there's so many different things that we can stack and create, audiences for ourselves. So tagging your leads as well is another great way to create specific audiences, because when we are reaching out to individuals, the more targeted that audience is in connection to what we're sending them, the better the response rate is going to be to those actions, right? So for sending stuff for, investors to first-time buyers, the first-time buyers aren't, going to be as interested in your investment stuff because they're still trying to just get a home for themselves, right? Or vice versa. just stuff like that. So the more targeted your marketing, the better you're going to find the engagement on that marketing aspect. And just another thing to kind of point out to you guys is custom fields as we go into filters here. So when we go into our leads down the bottom, you do have additional information that we can add about our individuals if we wish to do fields. So we bring in leads from another system that has different fields than AgentLocator has. You can create them as custom fields, or maybe there's an match they may want to be able to filter out your leads based on that. Right? So one of the things is that you can do, and you can see here, the kids, names, numbers, you can add different custom fields. Once you add one, it's applicable and it gets added automatically. The field option, it's obviously not going to be filled, but the field option gets added to every lead in your system. So one actually that, I just happened to see somebody posting because they do coloring things for people with kids and contests and stuff like that. So remembering everyone in their system that has kids, right? So if we go and create a custom field, for example, in this case, maybe we want it just to be a drop down, make it simple, right? So it's not, you're not filling in text, you're selecting from a drop down. I'm saying, has kids. Just as an example, I put caps, so that's okay. And one answer is yes, and one answer is no. Then when we save that is going to be on they're now in their custom field. So if I go and select yes, I again can use this as a filter. So if we go home, this is also good for doing family type marketing, stuff like that as well. So when we go and add this, the custom field is, so if we go custom field, this is here. Once we select that, then we can see all the custom fields. All right, so if I want to pull up everyone that has kids and that has selected yes, I can then go and apply and see there's just one person in my system right now that I've indicated through that drop down that they have kids. So again, another creative way that you can use to kind of tack depending on what you're marketing or how you engage with existing databases as well. You do, of course, have, so if you are doing something where you're sending people stuff in the mail, again, you could also do that through, however you gain those addresses from individuals for people to be part of contests. But when we add the addresses in here, so move this portion to the top. So you have that ability to select what type of the address this is. So if this is their home or their mailing, if it's different, you can, indicate the type of property that is, the address, 23 whatever street, this city, apparently can't spell, Ontario, and of course you can put all the information there. Once you have the addresses in here, so one of the things that when you are wanting to create and print labels, it's remembering who you have an address for. Because if we were to just select all of these people, we might not have addresses for all of these people. So one thing I kind of guide on is, adding even a tag, address, something for yourself that you can pull up because all these people have addresses in here. Because if we're looking there is no filter, and they might be able to, but it's, leads IP city. So the lead city, for example, go Toronto, this is now going to reflect, and I can only do the one city at a time. Their address is reflected. So these people have an address in the system as Toronto, but you would have to do that for every city, right? So I can't comment, I can't select more than one when I'm doing this. So that's where it might be easier to tag them that you have these people, that you have their address in here as well. That way you can pull up all those individuals. Once we do have people, we have addresses, we're just using the apply actions and then we're printing the labels, right? And then choosing the label size where we're printing it. If we want to add a return address label as well, because then I'll just print two for each person, basically their address, your address. When we do that, it's actually from up here in the top right hand corner, your user preferences. that's where it's getting you. So it's your office address is essentially going to be the return label for the return address. So it's anything in the contact details in your user preferences there. And then once you're done, you're just creating a PDF, right? And then printing or sending that to the printer, the PDF on there. So just another couple creative things that you can do, but those filters, those custom fields, I should say, again, they do expand across every individual that's on here, but it's other unique way if you want to gather additional information that perhaps there isn't a field already set for that in the system. You do want to try like things like this, kids' names and ages, stuff like that. That would be more for references. It'd be really difficult to filter your leads based on this because you'd be going, the only time it would work is if you're like, I can't remember my lead's name, but I remember I had a daughter named Cindy. Now, and I can't remember if we did this last time, in your more details, just another thing, this is great for past clients, things like that. Again, I can't recall if we went over this, is your anniversaries and birthdays. So in here, you do have the purchase anniversary, their date of birth. You do have a wedding anniversary one as well. If you know that, sometimes what I tell people is if it's a spouse, use the wedding anniversary for the spouse's birthday instead. But basically, once we put a date in here, so say we have the date, it's the 10th, when we click on the little icon afterwards, it's allowing you to set up an automatic email or text message that'll go out on that day every single year. Okay, so whether you want an SMS or an email, you can select the time that's going to go out. If you have a birthday template created, you can just select it. Or you can just build out your own email, right? So where you're sending them that email and be adding image, whatever it might be, to acknowledge them for their birthday. Once you save it, it'll automatically go out. Now, again, with the wedding anniversary, you could do the same idea, but for the spouse's birthday. If we are doing something like that, typically on the account, when we go up, it'd be like Crystal and spouse, and then their last name, for example, is Test/Smith. Those are their last names. How I kind of, my rule of thumb, if I was doing this, is the first name is the place, the second name is the anniversary spot. And then you could include both of them on that email, or those emails by commenting it. So what will happen then, because we've got both the names and both the emails, okay? So on the birthday then, that's where it'd be, a little bit more, rather than using short code, is the email itself that you go to send out is, say this is for the first name, so the first spouse is to make sure that in your email, your email in this case, is going out to saying their name, hi Crystal, right? Now the other person, because they both get CC'd basically on all email communications, the spouse is also going to receive this email, giving them that acknowledgement that you're acknowledging their spouse's birthday. And it'll happen vice versa, because then when you send the one out that goes to the spouse, the other spouse gets that one. So that's, it's not, in my opinion, a negative thing that the other person's recognizing that you're taking, and have that due attention to their spouse, that you're recognizing their birthday in there. So that's something that you can do. Some people like to create completely separate accounts for spouses. That's entirely up to you. Excuse me, how you go about doing that. But once we do have the birthdays in there, you can filter them out as well. So the birthday, and some people like to send things in the mail too, so they're not necessarily using that feature where they're getting the email. They want to pull up all the people. So if we have everyone, for example, and we can set the parameters, anyone that had a birthday, let's say, let's just do September, where the system we've marked it somewhere in September, they have a birthday, we can see that there's two leads in here that have their birthday in September. Or maybe I'm working now towards my October clients, and so I want to pull up everyone that I know has a birthday in October, so I can get all my stuff prepared to send those birthday cards out. So that's something to just kind of be aware of, that it does exist in here. But that's really it for today. So I do appreciate everyone that hopped on. I hope you gained at least some sort of tidbit of information. Again, these webinars are built and created for you guys, and guiding and trying to coach you on learning the things that you're going to benefit from. Now, again, come with your questions. nothing too big, nothing too small. And I just showcased just random things while we're kind of going through this to try to get you guys to ask some questions about certain features. But again, these are for you. So if you're ever stuck in your system, or you just want to learn how to do something because you want to engage with your leads a little bit differently, by all means, ask those questions. You can also shoot them over and we'll get them answered for you outside of the webinar as well. But thanks again, everyone. And we will see you all again next Monday. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week.